guys, welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs.
We are the Youngs. He's not the Youngs.
Not the Youngs.
This is Ben Ramos.
Hey.
And this is our second guest ever
Yes.
on this podcast.
Yo,
Yes.
what an honor. This is dope. Thanks for having
technically
me.
it'd be the third guest because there were two on the last one.
Oh yeah, Chris and Dawson.
Well, we're going to call you the second guest
Yeah.
because they were the same.
I'll
person.
take it.
They're a team.
Guest number 2.
Chris created Dawson, so
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, that's fair.
he came from his loins.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to
Anyway.
cut that. I'm just kidding. I'm not cutting that.
Okay.
So we got Ben Ramos here. We've known Ben for a few years. Ben is a dope photographer from Chicago.
Yeah, cool.
Came down here to do photos for us. So
Yeah, what an honor. That's crazy because honestly, like it is such a compliment from other photographers that are as kick-ass as you guys are to be like, hey, will you come take my pictures? Like, what? That's so
I
crazy. to
totally
me.
did sound like that
No,
too.
you no, you didn't. You didn't at all. But no, seriously, I'm so hyped. Thanks for bringing me into your space and showing me around a little bit around St. Charles, even though these are
Yeah.
kind of semi-old stomping grounds, but I haven't been here in a very, very long time. So
Tell us a little bit about yourself before we deep dive.
yeah, for sure. So, hey, I'm like talking to you guys, but like
Yeah,
also you guys.
also them.
Hey, what's up? So yeah, my name is Ben Ramos. I am a wedding photographer based in Chicago, Illinois. I started my business back in 2015 officially, where I was at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, where I was studying to be a nurse. Dropped out of school, picked up photography. Well, I guess not in that order. Picked up photography while in school. Ended up dropping out because it just kind of blew up. So 2016 was my first full-time year. And at the end of 2016, I moved to Chicago from Lincoln and just kind of put my feelers in and just let it spread and do its thing. So fast forward to now, I have a team of myself plus 4 other associate photographers and my beautiful fiance, Emily. What's up, boo? She is like our chief of operations. So she does all the back end stuff. And this year we have like 75 weddings booked around the city.
That's insane.
Which is nuts to
and
butts
I thought
nuts.
we overbook stuff.
I know,
Dude,
right?
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. I'm just like, yeah, great. Let's do it. We can be there. Let's go.
Hey,
What's
that's great
that?
because we don't know what we're doing here either.
I know. This is
Fake it till you make
This
it.
is the I don't know what I'm doing podcast.
This is Fake It Till You Make It
Yes.
podcast.
That is so dope.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
So did you
And
start?
congrats on your engagement, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, thanks,
my God.
guys. I'm getting
so-
married in 5 weeks and 6 days.
we got,
I'm so
we got
lit
a
for you.
COVID groom sitting here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all you couples out there, no, I'm just kidding. All you couples that are like making our life hell. No, I'm just kidding.
gonna
But
struggle.
you literally know what it's like on both sides right
Yes,
now.
officially I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is scary and I feel a lot for couples
Yeah.
because it is so unfortunate that, you know, you live your whole life dreaming about what, I mean, at least me in my shoes, I've definitely been thinking about my wedding for,
Right.
you know, probably since I was like 8. Just thinking like, dude, I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to like be a husband and like be a father someday and all that stuff. And like, you think about like, what will your wedding look like? And to be in this season where, you know, there's so many restrictions and, you know, you want to get married and that's like the end goal. And that's like it's what you're all there for. But at the end of the day, you want to celebrate with the people you
Yeah.
love.
And you have to change your expectations.
And you
Yeah.
can't have them all there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You have to really shift your priorities and it's really made all of us take a step back and really focus in on like what's important.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, if you put the marriage first, you guys will have a great day.
Yeah.
And
I
not
love that.
Don't make it about everybody else.
Yeah.
You're getting married for you, not for the guests that need a photo booth, that need, you know,
Right.
a $3,000 donut wall, whatever the fuck.
Ooh,
like,
I
you know.
love donuts. So
I mean, me too. And I will have a
That's
donut
good.
wall and a root beer float station at my wedding.
Root beer float?
Yeah, my
Shut
grandpa.
up.
So my grandfather passed away, and he was like one of my best homies.
Yeah.
Loved him to death. And we would always have chicken parm sandwiches and root beer floats. And so I'm having a root beer float station for him.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Oh,
cheers, Gramps.
That's
Dude.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome feedback, but that's not what we're talking about.
That's
So
definitely not what we're talking
we've
about.
actually Ben is a wealth of knowledge. So we're gonna have multiple episodes here. So this is just one of to be determined.
Yes, we might do like 7 of these,
We'll see.
maybe, if
Set the bar
we're
kinda
feeling
high.
frisky.
I'm going to go ahead and just say
We
we're
might run out
not
of light before that.
we're
That's-
not going to do 7 because it's 70 degrees today. I need to be outside.
Yeah, we need some cocktails and we need some breeze.
Yes.
Yes.
Waiter.
So the first topic we're going to talk about is how this man in a year and a half,
Yeah, just over. Yeah, like a
little
year,
over
9 months. We'll call
Let's
it that.
call it under 2 years.
Okay, under 2 years. That's
Paid
cool.
off over $100,000 in debt.
Whoa, it's true.
That's a lot of
Dang.
freaking
True or
money.
false? It's true. Yeah, dude, 125 grand between Emily and I in 20 months.
Whoa.
Okay, just open it up for us. Kind of just tell us like the
us the story.
backstory.
Yeah, pretty much. So, so as I said, I started the business while I was in college, so I was very young. I think when I officially incorporated as an LLC, I was 20, maybe.
So young.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just really, and like, honestly, I grew up in a like upper middle class household. My dad had a great job. He always gave us like, you know, we always went on great vacations, like, and we lived in a nice house and all this stuff. And so I saw what life should be like. He set the standard.
Yeah.
And I always was in my head, I was like, okay, I want better. I want more. I want to do this. So what does that mean? I started making six figures at like 21 years old and started blowing it. Blowing it. I was living in downtown Chicago. My half of an apartment was like $2,000 a month. I financed a $50,000 Mercedes. If I didn't feel like doing laundry, I didn't have in-unit laundry in my first apartment. And so I would go walk down Michigan Ave and go to Topshop and go to H&M and just ball out on credit cards.
So instead of doing laundry, you just buy new clothes.
Bought new clothes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I
was just in a phase and it was great. I felt like I was king of the world because I had I thought it was cool to just like, you know, have all this materialistic stuff.
Yeah.
And, I was like portraying this image of who I wanted to be, but it wasn't really me, if that makes sense.
You're flexing.
I was in
basically.
I was in it for the total 100% wrong reasons.
So can I just backtrack to the laundry thing? I
Yeah.
had never heard that about your story.
Yeah, dude.
We hate laundry.
Yeah.
So when we can finally say we're successful is when we can just not do laundry and just keep buying clothes.
Just keep buying clothes.
Oh Lord.
Manifest.
It's an expectation that I put out there that is just not realistic unless you're like a billionaire, then fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I was just, you know, I was eating out 3 times a day. Like eating out for one person in the city of Chicago, when you're downtown, is usually like $25 per meal. So I was spending like $80 a day eating out. Like I was just going ballistic. I was traveling everywhere, doing whatever. And I just had no concept of
All the debt you're racking up.
Yeah. I had no idea.
And when you were paying for things, was it like a combination of the inflow coming in, but then also credit cards, or what did that look like for you?
So it was, I mean, I would spend pretty much everything that was in my accounts.
Okay.
And then if I was in a pinch, I'd rely on the credit card.
Yeah.
And I would always pay my minimum payments on time. And like, you know, I just thought it was normal. I just thought it was normal to be in debt.
Yeah.
Like I honestly, I didn't like in my mind, I didn't think that anything outside, I knew credit cards were debt. But like to me, a student loan, I was like, everyone has student loans. It's not debt.
Yeah.
Or like everyone has a car payment. That's not debt.
Yeah.
I can afford the car payment, but I can't afford to buy the car, but I can afford the payment. And like in my mind, I was like, that's normal. And honestly, like in society, it is normal.
It is normal. That is normal. Most people in society are in debt.
Right. Yes. And like, I don't hate you if you're in debt at this point, because clearly I was in a great place before. But you know, no one taught me this. No one taught me, you know, about handling your finances. No one taught you how to budget. No one taught me how to, you know, if you're going to have a credit card, that you need to pay it off at a certain point, you know, to maintain a good credit score and stuff like that. Like I just was just literally free balling. I was free balling.
Basically, you were setting yourself up to live paycheck to paycheck when you were making enough to not have to do that.
Yes, 100%. And I was pretty much, my money was telling me what to do. I wasn't telling my money what to do. And
good.
so, yeah, I mean, it never got out of control. I just I just never prospered.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like to say that I've been making over 6 figures for the past 7 years and I have like nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh.
Was that kind of the reality, the reality check that you're like, like for instance, we're in tax season, you're doing taxes, and you're like, I made that much.
Right.
Where is it?
So really my never again, or like the moment that like flipped a switch, my best friend, Brett Bruner, shout out to Brett, love you dog. He grew up with Dave Ramsey in his home. So he had, I mean, I don't think he's as strict as I ever got with it, but he, you know, knew about it. He's like, yo, dude, listen to this guy's podcast. Like, you're a hot ass mess. Like, why are you saying you make all this money and you ain't got nothing but a car payment? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Facts.
And I'm just like, damn. Okay. So I remember my dad had a procedure that he had. He lives up in Detroit. So I was driving to his house and I just put it on and I had no idea what I was walking into. And it's pretty much Dave Ramsey's radio show where people call in and they have money questions or they have debt questions or, you know, anything really financially related. And he would just tell them what he would do. And a little backstory on Dave. He was a millionaire by 26, lost it all, went bankrupt and became a millionaire again, like, you know, 150 or 200,000 times over. And so
he ironically became a millionaire again by teaching people how to
get out of debt. Right. Exactly. So yeah, it was really interesting. I just like, wow. Like, I remember that was the first time I heard like, oh yeah, a car payment is debt. I was like, what? Like that blew my mind. I was like, holy shit. I didn't know that. Like my parents didn't teach me that. They didn't teach me that a car payment was bad. They just taught me,
this is how we do
like
it.
you can afford the payment. Like you probably shouldn't spend this much more on this car. But like, you know, everyone has a payment. Like my parents always had car payments. You know, we always had credit card, you know, I just thought it was normal. And I think that's unfortunate that like, you know, a lot of society today is not taught that it's not normal.
And not to say you shouldn't just avoid car payments altogether, but know what kind of car you can afford realistically.
Right.
To actually pay it off.
Right.
And
Well,
not
it's just
have
like,
a car
it's just
payment.
crazy to go into debt for something that's depleting in value. Unless it's like a collector or it's like, you know, if you got a Bronco from like the 80s chilling in your garage, it's like in pristine condition, then
Yes.
Right.
But like, if you're going to go finance a brand new like Mercedes,
That's
like
in
I
3
did.
years is going to hit its max depreciation.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, I financed a $50,000 car. When I sold it 3 years later, I sold it for $18,000 and I still owed like 25 on it. So I was upside down, like hardcore.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So it's like
a 30% drop in 3 years.
in 3 years. I mean, I did put I'm a road warrior. I put a shit ton of miles on it, but yeah, dude, hectic. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're watching, don't do that.
Live within your means.
Yeah, live within your means. And the thing is, like, in my mind, I mean, the payment was like, I think $769 a month, which sounds crazy, right? I know. But like, also, when you're making decent money, it was like just another thing that just came out. I was like, cool, $769. I can afford that because I think at the time I was probably pulling in like, you know, $12,000 a month. I was like, that's not bad.
I would say that's how most Americans like live their life when they're buying a car.
Right.
This is what I can afford a month.
Right.
So this is the car I want. If I can make the payment work, I'm gonna get the car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely how we were with the
Yeah.
4Runner. Like,
Although
I mean,
at the same time, like I've always gone into it expecting to pay a certain amount per month for a car.
Yeah.
But I want to get that number as low as I can by putting a big chunk down, and I never want to draw the loan out for the entire term.
Right.
I want to get that sucker paid off as quickly as I can, and usually I pay it off within a year or two before it's final.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to lose all that money on it.
Right.
And which is why we bought the car we bought, because I researched that it doesn't depreciate as fast as other cars.
Sure. Right.
And we only financed half of what it's worth.
yeah.
So we're never going to be upside down in it.
Right. And that's the thing too. I mean, you can't do it in a place where, you know, when you do put a lot down, you're most likely going to have positive equity unless you like destroy it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And you know, that way, that's where you can come in and like, okay, cool. Like, you know, I only owe like 10,000 on this car, but it's worth 18. And then you can roll that into a different car or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But I just was never taught that.
Right.
Ever. And not dogging on my parents, but like, you know, just,
They did their best.
they did their best. And like, you know, I had a great life, but like we had all known this knowledge that I've learned over the past couple of years, like we would be in a very different position as a family, you know?
Isn't the ultimate goal though to surpass your teacher at one point?
100%.
So, I mean, you learned what your parents taught you and then you went further.
Right. Exactly. And I think my dad did the same thing, you know, like he came from very humble beginnings in the Dominican Republic where they lived in like a 2-bedroom house or I'm sorry, a 2-room house with like dirt floors, no electricity. And like all of a sudden catch him like 30 years later flying first class to Switzerland for like a business trip. And it's like, okay.
Wow,
that
that's
kid,
amazing.
like he rode like a mule riding into town to get groceries at one point. You know, it's like, what the hell? Crazy, right? Cool story. And so, yeah, he did significantly better than like where he came from.
Yeah.
And then, you know, now it's my turn to like surpass that. And then my hope, the same for my kids and my grandkids and, you know, that kind of thing.
So let's talk about your journey a little bit more.
Okay.
So when you started putting money into just paying off, what was your strategy? I know Dave Ramsey's mindset was kind of your strategy.
Give a little overview of what the Dave Ramsey strategy is for people who don't know.
I guess I should probably back up too a little bit. Emily, my fiance, she actually introduced me to budgeting. This was probably about 3 or 4 months before I found Dave or was introduced to Dave. And it was like pulling teeth. Like it was bad. I did not want to face what I was actually spending my money on. And I think that's everybody's like first big challenge to like overcome is you have to actually see where all your money's going for the first time. And you're just like, ooh, that sucks.
Yeah.
So she did get me into budgeting, but I wasn't consistent with it until after I found Dave. So Dave Ramsey's plan. So pretty much he teaches the thing called the baby steps. It's 7 baby steps from getting out of debt to building wealth and like living and giving. Right. Like he says to live and give like no one else. This is like little catchphrase. So baby step 1 is put $1,000 into a baby emergency fund. So that's pretty much like while you're paying off debt, you have $1,000 cushion between you and like death pretty much, which it really is not a sufficient, you know, emergency fund, but that's like kind of the leverage to like kind of get after your debt and just get it gone. That's what he teaches. So once you have $1,000 aside, if you have any extra money that's non-retirement money, you line your debts up smallest to largest. It's called the Debt Snowball. He calls it baby step 2 interchangeably. Yep. And so pretty much you line them up smallest to largest, you attack the little one while paying the minimums on all the big ones. Okay. So let's say you have 3 credit cards. One's like $2,000, one's $4,000, one's $7,000. And the other, you have a student loan that's $12,000 and a car that's like $30,000. You would hit the $2,000 credit card. You would tack every extra dollar you have above your living expenses. You would throw at that credit card till it's gone. And then you would move that minimum payment and onto the next one. And it's called the Debt Snowball until they're all completely gone.
So to explain that better, basically if you're paying if your minimum is $25 a month for this credit card, even after it's paid off, you're putting that $25 into the next card.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Yep. So you're always going to add, that's where the snowball comes in.
Right. Yes, exactly. So as you like pay off one, that snowball just gets bigger and bigger and then it's finally gone. So there's that. So then once you're complete, and that debt is consumer debt. So that's credit cards, that's student loans, car payments, personal loans, home equity line of credits. That is considered in that baby step 2 realm. So this excludes mortgage payments. It's not mortgage debt. Okay. Baby step 3 is now that you're completely out of consumer debt, you now build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So if it costs $3,000 for you to live your life, you need to have like $9,000 to $18,000 in a savings account as like a rainy day fund, not as like a savings account for as a house, not to, like strictly just to cover your ass if you get a COVID situation and you don't have a job for 6 months, like you're covered.
You know how many people
would have loved to have that emergency fund this year.
I'm so glad we had, I don't think we had 6 months. We had 6 months in like a whole spread of things, like investment accounts and stuff, which I don't want to touch, but my buddy's always like, you know, in a worst case scenario, you have that if you have to use it.
Right.
But exactly. I'm so glad we had extra money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that Dave talks about like, because him and his wife went bankrupt at one point, like they have an emergency fund for the emergency fund. Like, so they really don't ever get back to that place.
So once you pull money out of this, you replace it with this.
Yes, exactly. So those first 3 baby steps are supposed to be like super intense. Like the way he teaches it is like, no life. To be honest, I definitely went against the grain. I definitely still lived my life the way I wanted to, but I was just intentional. Like I just was focused. I was telling my money what to do. There were definitely times where I, still went. He teaches like, don't go out to eat unless you're working at the restaurant, that kind of shit. And it's like, no, I'm going to live my life still.
And that's kind of where I have been. Like, I appreciate the snowball method and paying off, but the stuff like, don't go out to eat if you shouldn't go out to eat as much, but we're foodies. That's like our joy is finding a restaurant and eating at it. And there's a lot of unique food in St. Louis, and I love trying, and I still haven't tried. I've lived here my whole life. I still haven't tried everything.
Yeah, I feel like Chicago's like one of the foodie capitals of the world. But like, I mean, there's so much food.
If you're intentional about it, you can still do those things you enjoy. Exactly.
Right. And I think like, you know, I think people could potentially get lazy with it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you should, you know, like it really shouldn't take, if you, depending on like your income to debt ratio, I mean, you know, you should be able to knock it out probably within like, you know, no more than 4 years, let's say, if you're intentional about it, depending on how much you have and how much you make, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, I think it's unrealistic to take away like some of your joys. And if that's like connecting with people and like eating out, you know, maybe don't do it every night, but like maybe like once every couple of weeks, like still go enjoy yourself and, you know, just have limits and boundaries and stuff, you know? Right. So now you're out of debt. You have an emergency fund. Baby step 4, 5, and 6 are done simultaneously. Okay. So baby step 4 is investing 15% of your income into retirement. Baby step 5 is preparing for kids' college. If that applies to you, he says, skip this step if you don't have kids. And then baby step 6 is pay off the mortgage, which sounds crazy to everybody, but it is a thing. Mm-hmm. You can pay off your house. There's a chance, there's a time and a place where you can actually live with no payments. And that is like his whole spiel. And then once you're baby step 7, you have no debt at all, not even a house payment. And you are just maxing out all your retirement accounts and you are giving to like local charities and like local, I mean, he teaches to give no matter where you're at in the steps, but you know, you're overly generous, you know, when you're tipping or, you know, when you are donating to foundations or charities or, you know, whatever that looks like for you. And yeah, just paying cash for everything as you go along and not borrowing money. That's his whole philosophy and his whole lifestyle, which I needed to hear that. I needed like the strict structure to get me pull me out of the hole that I was in because I was just so far down in a different, like with a different track mind that I was like, okay, I need something that's like, that I can follow and be precise and like be strict and like do that. And that worked for me for sure. Yeah. But it's not everybody's cup of tea and that's okay. And I'm starting to learn that. I was kind of intense about it, probably even when we last talked. Yeah, like we talked about like eight months ago or so. I was just like, no, dude, that's the worst. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, I've read other people's books about money, and I just like, you know, I'm trying to be as well rounded as possible.
And I think that falls in line a lot. I think the Dave Ramsey method is very good for your standard consumer. Yeah. That is just working a 9-to-5 and just wants to live a comfortable life and make the most of it. But I know we had a conversation about this earlier this week with another friend of ours that's a business owner, and he made up a good point. He said, you know, the wealthiest in America carry millions in debt. Yeah. But they do it strategically, and they don't go in beyond their means to do it. Right. For instance, I can't go and open a restaurant without going into debt because I don't have the capital to do that. Right. That's multi-million dollars to open a restaurant.
Right. And the way Dave teaches it, he would be like, don't even think about it until you have the cash in place. But it's like, okay, like what are we going to put our life on hold for like the next like 20 years while we try to save up? And by time with inflation and everything, by the time you actually get there, like, do you actually even have enough for a restaurant? Like, you know, what it costs today might not be what it is down the line, you know? Sure. So yeah. I personally believe now, I always thought that debt, like through this process, I was kind of brainwashed, if you will, to kind of think that all debt is bad. Right. And I don't really feel that way anymore. I think especially when it comes to property and like real estate, that is, you know, I don't think that's bad debt because what you're purchasing is going up in value. You're building equity while you are purchasing, even though you're not paying complete cash for it. You know, you're still going to get a return on your investment that you put in, which I think is great. I personally probably will never finance a car again. I'll never take out a loan if I don't have to. Yeah.
But you just told me why you wouldn't though, because it's you're not going to get a positive return. Right. Unless it's a rare car that's only like 6 of them or whatever.
Right. For sure. But even then,
a car is always going to depreciate.
Right. Exactly. And so I do actively still use a credit card. But I pay it off. I make sure that I have the right amount. The amount I spend is in my checking account and ready to pay it off at all times.
That is something that for like the younger generation, I know before we got married, I had no credit.
Yeah.
So like I needed to do something to build up my credit because I didn't have anything. And typically the way you do that is you get a credit card.
Right.
That's like the easiest way to build credit. You just have to be really smart about it.
Right. Exactly.
And I mean, like we have a Southwest card because we get points for free travel.
Right.
But
my credit card's American Airlines. So yeah, I get it.
You got to be strategic about it.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't use a credit card like it is money. You have to understand from the jump that like you are borrowing money and you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And so when you when you deplete all your real money and then start relying on the credit card, then you dig yourself into that hole and you're like, okay, like you don't want to get too comfortable with that. You need to have the discipline to know like, hey, this, I need to pay more. I took out 200. I need to pay back 200 within like a month.
Yep.
And that's how we are with our Southwest card. But before we got married and I needed to start building up credit, we got an Ashley Furniture home store credit card.
Yeah.
Because we were getting married, we were getting a new home,
Furniture's not cheap.
We needed to buy furniture. So we were like, we can afford to buy this furniture without the credit card, but
it was 0% interest.
I was like, I need the credit. So we'll go ahead and do that and we'll pay it off right away. And we did.
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to do that, especially like, in our line of work, like our income is not as steady as somebody that, is in a salary job. Like, some months we're riding like, we're on top of the world, and the other months like we're down in the dumps and, and sometimes life happens when you're down in the dumps and you need something to back you up. And then the minute you're riding up high, you can just pay it off.
That's where budgeting happens.
Yeah. Yes. Budgeting
is huge.
So,
and that's how we are able to, like, that's how we got through COVID is because we budgeted properly.
Right. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your personal debt, like your personal journey with your debt and how like you kind of tackled yours.
Yeah. So I did follow his plan, like pretty like spot on minus, I still lived and went on, like he says, don't vacation, don't eat out, that kind of thing. But I still did all that. Yeah. So like he teaches, I did line everything up smallest to largest. So I paid off all the credit cards probably within the first, I think I had 4 credit cards that equaled like 16,000. I think I paid that off probably in it was right in the middle of busy season. So I paid it off in a month and a half. It was pretty chill. Yeah, it was good.
That's amazing.
So that felt really good. And it honestly, like the reason why he teaches it to start with the small ones is because it's like a psychological thing.
Well, I was going to say, you're like probably feeling like, hell yeah, I just did that.
Yeah. Like you pay off the little one, you're like, damn, that
and
momentum.
You're excited
and you're
to
like,
do
okay,
another
let's do
one.
it again. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
The last one. So let's break it down. I had 4 credit cards that equaled like 16,000. I had a student loan that was 12,000. I had an IRS tax debt that was 15,000. And then my car at the time when I started was like 35 is what I owed on it. Okay. So I paid off the student loan and the credit cards probably within like 3 months. It was awesome. I was like on fire.
That's
and
awesome.
I had just done like 30,000.
Just fired up about it.
Right. But then I got to the IRS and like I went through it pretty quick, but it just felt so long.
Do you think it's because it was a tax debt?
Maybe. I mean, probably.
Because mentally, we don't want to pay tax on money we've already...
That's so hard.
Yeah, that's the worst. Yeah. Tax debt is terrible. And I think it was mostly hard just because, now the value of that debt was 15,000, where like all my other cards were like, 4,000 or like 4,500. Like they didn't feel like so monstrous.
Yeah.
And so I paid off the IRS. And so finally at the end, I'm left with my car. And I think I owed I think I got it down to like maybe 25,000, which is dope.
Yeah.
But I ended up selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emily and I we live in, not downtown. We live in a neighborhood called Lakeview in Chicago. So it's, we can walk to all the grocery stores. We can walk to restaurants, and we do need a car for our day to day, especially with me shooting weddings in the city, outside the city, just driving out to family and stuff. We do need one car. And she has a 2014 Ford Escape.
Yep.
And I was driving a 2016 C-Class, and with us getting a puppy and stuff and like traveling, if we were going to travel, we needed more of the space. And she had positive equity in her car, and I was upside down, and my payment was larger. And so we were just trying to cut down as much as we could. So I I put my car up for sale, and I ended up getting a personal loan while paying off debt. Got a personal loan to pay the difference because I had to obtain the title. And then once I got the check from the client, I paid off the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
yeah, that was
dope.
done.
And you are
And that's
debt-free.
that's an
I'm
example
debt-free.
of leveraging your debt.
Yeah.
Because you knew you'd be able to pay that off pretty quick.
Right.
But you needed it to get the bigger payment gone.
Correct. Yeah. And honestly, Dave teaches that too. He's like, yo, like if you like sell the car and if you're upside down, get a loan to get the difference. Like I'd rather you be, $5,000 in debt versus, 35 or whatever
And
that
hanging
is.
on to the car.
Right. He says that when he's talking to people that are like in a pinch like that, he'll just be like, yo, like just go to your local credit union, get a personal loan because you'll have it for probably like, 20 days or something. And I'd rather you knock 30,000 of your $40,000 of debt down to, 5 or 10,000 is a lot better than, what it was. So yes, that's what I did. And it's crazy.
That's awesome.
And
I remember talking to you. When did you propose to Emily?
I proposed in September.
I remember talking to you. You had like $10,000 left to pay off your debt. And you told us that you were going to propose. And you're like, but I'm not going to do it until my debt's paid off and I can buy the ring in full.
Yes.
Yep.
And I was like, that's literally amazing.
Because you wanted that dope ring.
Yeah.
Yes, I did want that dope ring.
Yeah.
It was worth it. It was worth every bit of it. And I think too, for us, like we're getting married in like just under 6 weeks and it's like, we're going into marriage with no debt.
That's huge.
The car we drive is
So
paid for.
many people strive for that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's just like a great fresh slate for us to, now we can steadily invest as a family and we can build for our future. Hopefully retire by the time we're 45.
Yes.
Get
Oh
there.
my God.
Yeah,
Hashtag goals.
right?
Yes.
I'm way too close to that number right now.
That's awesome.
No, you're not, dude. You're good. You're good.
So what is your advice for those who are listening to this podcast being like, bro, I have so much debt. It's never going to happen for me.
Well, I do think, even though we've kind of talked about, how I don't agree with everything Dave says to do, I do think that his structure on how he does it by doing the debt snowball is really effective.
Yeah.
It's just the mindset of like, okay, I got the little one done. Let's hit the next one. Let's hit the next one.
So
Let's
just
hit the next
start.
one. Just start.
Yeah.
I think really before you even start though, you really need to set up a budget.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first thing.
You can't know where your money is going.
Your
if you
money
don't know
needs a
where it needs to
roadmap.
go.
Like it's like driving these days without GPS. Can you even imagine? No, you can't. You need to give your money direction. You need to tell it what to do and not let it tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Right. And when you live paycheck to paycheck, your money is telling you what to do. So you need to get ahead of it. And it's scary. I'm going to be real. Like it sucks to think about, like, especially let's say you started, living on your own when you're 18. Now you're like 24 and you've never had a budget. You've never had any rules or guidelines on how to spend your money. You've just like, oh, cool. I check my account. I got the money. I'll spend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gotta go.
Right.
Because now like you need to sit down and give every single dollar and every single penny a job.
So question.
Yes.
Would you say with how you guys budget, and you don't have to obviously tell me numbers,
No,
but
it's
like, you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably know exactly what's in your account day to day.
Yep. I
Because
check
you
it
know
every single
exactly
day.
where your finances are going.
Yep.
What's going to be left at the end of the month and when it's going to replenish itself.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, we're the same way.
Like I go to bed every night knowing exactly what's in my account and what's going to hit tomorrow and what's going to hit next week.
And you don't even have to look to know.
I don't have to look.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all allocated for, it's all prepared and like there's no surprises.
And I feel like that is something that, like, when you go out places, you're like going out with friends, and we've had those feelings where like, wait, we need to check the bank like right before we pay to see if we need to transfer something or something like that. But when you're living a life like that, it is just so much more anxiety free.
Yes.
But see, the way you're explaining, like we live paycheck to paycheck in the quote sense of it.
Sure.
But that's only because we're like, all right, we pay ourselves every week.
Right.
And we won't go beyond that number.
Right.
So if we were checking the bank before we go to dinner, it's because the amount that we paid ourselves that is now in our spending account, because I have like 6 accounts that we use.
Yeah, we budget, but he does it like a different way.
Sure. Yeah.
Like we don't touch any, and budgeting's different for anything you do.
And everyone's got a method to their madness. There's not one
for
way to do
sure.
it. So
we don't touch any, like it comes from our business account. We pay ourselves into our checking account.
Right.
And then portion of that goes into bills, our everyday bills.
Right.
And we live off of this amount every week.
Yeah.
And if we get to where we have $6 in the bank, and we're going to dinner, we're like, we're going to live like we have $6.
Yeah.
We don't have, I could transfer money and go to dinner.
We're trying to be strict about it and
Right.
trying to, set the.
And that's where the budgeting comes into play and being really
and
strict
being
with it.
intentional about the decisions you're making.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hell
for
yeah.
Sure.
That's dope.
For sure.
I love it.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, get on a budget for sure. Start telling, and it's probably something that you need to do. I always suggest, so there's two main softwares that you can use that are pretty low cost. One is Dave Ramsey's. It's called Every Dollar. It's literally give every dollar a purpose, right? The other one that I personally use is called YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. You Need a Budget, YNAB.com.
Nice.
Awesome. We'll link those in the
And it
description.
helps you budget.
Yeah. So
Cool.
pretty much what you do is you can link automatically your checking account. I suggest not doing that. I would say I still to this day manually enter every single transaction, so I know exactly where it comes from.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if it's linked, it could be delayed, and sometimes if you just swipe a transaction on a Friday, it doesn't clear
hit
till
until
Monday.
Or if there's a holiday.
Right.
Or if it's a
Yeah.
weird account, like the way they track it, it's like
Yes.
you have to go back to your receipts and say, what was this?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I know every single day that like my account balance matches my budget.
Okay.
And so all the dollars and even like pending charges, I allocate money for all those pending charges and made sure those are covered before I spend any more.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That's dope.
So yeah, YNAB and You Need a Budget. Do not link the accounts to be automatic because you need to learn and strengthen the muscle of like understanding where your money is going.
Yeah.
And it is a process. And it's going to be frustrating. There are going to be months where you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll give myself like $250 to eat out this month. That sounds pretty reasonable when really you've been spending like fucking $900 a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge shock. And you're going to get really frustrated.
And
But
Starbucks budget.
Starbies, dude, $6 a day.
Yeah.
On coffee. If you get a
12 when you're
sandwich, it's
married.
11, 12.
12 when you're married.
Yeah, when you're married, it's double that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Speaking from experience.
We have a Starbucks problem.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I do too. I did actually. I've been buying their cold brew at the grocery store, and then just I get.
I have. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So get the medium roast. If you like iced coffee, medium roast. Then go to Trader Joe's and get the vanilla almond coconut creamer. It is
Ooh.
redonk.
All right. There
Love
you go.
it. Yep,
Starbucks
so good.
on a budget.
Starbucks on a budget.
So Ben, where can people find you?
Yeah. So I am.
Well, do you have anything else?
Oh,
Ooh,
sorry.
well, I don't know.
I
As
far
totally
as-
skipped.
Hey, no, it's cool. I don't think so.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks for having
Budget.
me.
Yeah.
Budget, bitch.
Yeah. So where can everybody find you on
Yeah,
your socials?
so I am on Instagram. My handle is I am Ben Ramos. Find me on Facebook. Ben Ramos Photography is my photo stuff. My fiance and I have another company called Bread and Honey where we coach and mentor other people on
Yeah.
how to run their businesses.
And budgeting.
And budgeting. We
Yes.
do. Emily has this kick-ass budgeting 101 course. You should come check it out.
They're
for sure.
dope, y'all. They're dope.
So yeah, that Instagram is at Bread and Honey Co.
Okay.
on Instagram.
Dope.
Yeah.
Thank you so
All
much.
those will be linked in the bio
Ooh.
or in bio or in the description or whatever, wherever you're watching or listening to this.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we will be back next time with Ben again on a different topic.
Yeah. Thank
Let's
you so
go.
much, Ben.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you guys soon.
See ya.
Peace.